I've been with the National Park Service since 2003. 15 years in backcountry SAR, search and rescue, most of it right here in Rocky Mountain. I know Long's Peak better than I know my own neighborhood. I know how sound moves through those granite corridors, how wind shapes itself around the cirques. I know what a mountain lion kill looks like. I know bear scat, elk rutting patterns, the difference between hypothermia confusion and actual distress. I'm telling you this so you understand. I'm not some weekend hiker who panicked at shadows. This happened in late September 2018. Early season snow had already hit the high country, which isn't unusual. What was unusual was the call log we'd been getting. 3 separate reports in 5 days, all from the Chasm Lake Basin area. Hikers reporting human screams, like full-on distress calls, coming from above 11,000 feet. Each time we sent a patrol up, they found nothing. No climbers in that area, no overdue permits, nothing. The 4th call came in on a Thursday evening. Seasonal ranger Miguel Reyes radioed from Chasm Junction, said he was hearing what sounded like someone calling for help, but, and this is what made me grab my pack, he said it didn't sound quite right, said the pitch was off, like someone imitating a scream without understanding how humans actually sound when they're in distress. I told dispatch I'd take it. They advised against it. Storm system moving in, wind already hitting 35 knots at altitude. I went anyway. Miguel was solid, not the type to spook easy, and we'd had a missing climber report 2 days prior. Solo hiker, permit expired, no contact. We started up the Keyhole route around 1900 hours. Temperature was dropping fast, already down to maybe 20 degrees. Visibility decent, but you could see the cloud deck building over the Mummy Range to the north. About 40 minutes in, Miguel stops, points to the scree field just off the trail. Prints. I've tracked through this park for 15 years. I know every goddamn animal print in Colorado. These were wrong. Triangular shape, but elongated. 14 inches long, maybe more. Heel impression was deep, really deep, like the thing was heavy, but the toe spacing was off, too wide. Stride length measured out around 7 feet. I radioed it in, took photos. Dispatch asked if it could be a bear. No. Bear prints are rounder, 5 toes, claws set different. These had 3 distinct toe impressions, and the heel was almost human-shaped, just bigger. Miguel wanted to turn back. I told him we'd check the basin, log it, and get out before the storm hit. That's when we heard it. Started like an elk bugle, common enough that time of year, especially during rut. But it warped midway through, shifted into this higher register that didn't match any animal I knew. Almost hit a human frequency, but not quite. Like something was trying to make the right sound, but couldn't get the vocal cords to cooperate. That's what I heard before, Miguel said. His voice was tight. I checked my watch. 2015 hours. Still had maybe 45 minutes of usable light. We kept moving. The wind was doing strange things up there, howling through the rocks, but I've been in storms at altitude. Wind doesn't usually have that kind of rhythm to it. This had a cadence, almost like breathing, but huge. Long inhales, longer exhales. We made camp near the tree line, just below the Chasm Lake approach. Standard protocol, bare vault for food, tent staked heavy because of the wind. Miguel set up the stove to heat water. No flame issues at first. Then it started flickering, guttering out, reigniting. No wind in the tent, no drafts. That's when the moan started. Low frequency. Felt it more than heard it. Came up through the rocks, through the ground, like a landslide building, but sustained. It rolled down from the cirque, bounced off the granite faces, and when it faded into something that had syllables, not words exactly. But the rhythm was wrong for wind, too deliberate. Miguel looked at me. I told him it was acoustics. Wind through the rocks, ice shifting, whatever. But I didn't believe it. I didn't sleep that night. Just logged coordinates, checked the barometer, tried to raise dispatch. Radio kept cutting out, not unusual at that elevation. Static and interference from the storm building, normal stuff. But underneath it, faint. I kept hearing what sounded like vocalizations. Could have been wildlife, coyotes maybe, but the pitch was off. At 6:20 hours, first light, we packed up and moved toward the cirque. I wanted to see the source of those calls before we headed down. We found it about a quarter mile up, half an elk, suspended from a juniper tree. Now, bears will cache kills sometimes, drag them into cover. Mountain lions too, but this was 12 feet off the ground. wedged between branches that couldn't support that weight. The ribs were stripped completely clean. I mean, surgical clean. No tooth marks, no tearing, just removed. Below it, shredded tent, sleeping bag ripped open but not clawed, more like pulled apart. Clothing scattered, and a single boot still laced, lying on its side. The missing hiker. Miguel started hyperventilating. I told him to breathe, slow it down, stay focused. I called it in. Dispatch confirmed they'd send a recovery team at first light the next day. Weather was closing in too fast for a night extraction. That's when I saw the prints, dozens of them, circling the site, overlapping. Some heading uphill, some down, but here's what made my skin crawl. Some of them were identical. Same depth, same spacing, laid on top of each other like something had walked the exact same path multiple times, retracing itself. You don't see that in nature. Animals don't move like that. Miguel was backing away, shaking his head. We need to go. We need to go right now. I agreed. We made it maybe 100 yards. The wind came down off the ridge, hard, sudden gust that nearly knocked us over. And somewhere in that wind, up near the loft, a sound. Started human. A shout maybe. But it warped, slid down into something guttural, then back up, like hearing someone's voice played at the wrong speed. The acoustics were bouncing it everywhere, making it impossible to pinpoint. Miguel grabbed my arm. What the hell was that? I didn't answer. Didn't know how to. We got back to camp, grabbed our gear, and started moving down. Fast. Headlamps on, even though it was only 14:30 hours. Cloud cover had turned everything gray. The radio crackled, just static at first. Then, brief, maybe 2 seconds. Something that sounded like breathing. Heavy, wet. Could have been interference. Could have been an open mic somewhere down the mountain. I told Miguel to keep moving. We kept moving. Didn't talk, didn't stop. The wind was screaming now. Full whiteout conditions. Visibility down to maybe 15 feet. I'd done this route 100 times. I could navigate it blind. But every time I checked my compass, the needle was drifting. Not spinning, just drifting east. Like something was pulling it off, true north. We stopped to check the map. That's when something pressed against my pack. Not wind, pressure. Steady, deliberate. I spun around. Nothing. Miguel was looking past me, eyes wide. He pointed up. I followed his gaze. Something was standing on the ridgeline. 40 feet above us. Upright, tall, 8 feet, maybe more. Gray-black skin, patchy fur clinging to its shoulders and back. Its spine looked wrong, too pronounced, ridged like something prehistoric. And its face, Jesus Christ. Its face, it wasn't human, but it wasn't animal either. Somewhere in between, jaw slack, nostrils flaring like it was tasting the air. And its eyes, dull yellow, catching the last bit of daylight, were locked on us. It didn't move, just watched. Then it opened its mouth and made a sound. Started low, a moan almost, then climbed higher, warbling, trying to form something. Syllables that didn't quite connect, like it was testing sounds, learning them. The acoustics grabbed it, threw it around the cirque, and for a second it almost sounded like it was saying something, almost. But the cadence was wrong. The rhythm didn't match human speech. Miguel ran. I shouted for him to stop, stay together, but he was gone, crashing down slope through the snow, headlamp bouncing. I heard him scream once, sharp and high, then nothing. The thing on the ridge tilted its head. Then it moved, not running, bursting forward in these stuttering sprints, like stop motion. It would lunge 10 feet and freeze, mid-stride, perfectly still, then lunge again, closing distance fast. I pulled my flare gun and fired. The flare hit the snow in front of it, bright magnesium white, lighting up the whole ridge. The thing recoiled, skin blistering where the light touched it, but it didn't flee. It backed up slowly, watching me the whole time. That's when I saw the others. Shapes, low to the ground, moving along the rocks. Dozens of them, eyes reflecting in pairs, scattered across the slope like Christmas lights. All watching, all still. And then they started calling, all of them, at once. Different pitches, overlapping. Some low, some high, none of them quite right. All of them trying to hit frequencies that sounded human but missing by just enough to make your skin crawl. It bounced off the granite, layered and distorted, until I couldn't tell where any of them were coming from. I dropped my pack and ran. I don't remember getting back to the trail. I don't remember the descent. I know I radioed for help at some point. My throat was raw from shouting. I know I made it to the ranger station at 3:40 hours, hypothermic, bleeding from a gash on my face I don't remember getting. Miguel's body was never recovered. They sent a team up at first light. Found his parka, shredded, caught on a boulder. Found his radio, crushed. No blood, no tracks. The official report says he fell, lost his footing in the storm, went over a drop near the loft. I filed my incident report, described everything. The carcass, the prints, the things on the ridge. 2 days later, I was called into the supervisor's office, told my report was being amended. Cause of death, environmental exposure, and bear predation. The prints I photographed? Inconsistent with known species, likely distorted by freeze-thaw cycles. The hanging elk? Scavenger activity post-mortem. I asked about the recordings, the sounds, the attempted vocalizations. They said it was wind distortion, auditory pareidolia, stress-induced hallucination. I'm still a ranger, still work the park, but I don't patrol Longs Peak anymore. I can't, because here's the thing they don't tell you in training. Some predators don't just hunt by sight or smell. Some of them hunt by sound. And if they hear humans making noise often enough, distress calls, shouts, even normal conversation, they start trying to copy it. Not perfectly, they can't, but close enough to make you hesitate, close enough to make you curious, close enough to draw you in. 3 weeks after Miguel disappeared, I was doing trail maintenance near the loft. Low-risk area, broad daylight, full crew. Wind came down off Longs Peak, long, low moan that rattled the rocks. And buried in that wind, a sound, humanish, rising pitch, falling again, trying to form a word but not getting there. Just that same broken rhythm I'd heard before. I stopped, pulled out my phone, started recording instinctively. When I played it back later, it was there, faint, underneath the wind. A vocalization attempting syllables, but failing, like listening to someone who'd never heard human speech, trying to imitate it from memory. I looked up at the ridge. Something moved along the skyline, tall, upright, spine ridged, then folded back into the snow, silent. They call it wind, atmospheric pressure, thermal gradients, all that. But sometimes the mountain calls back, not with words, not yet. But it's trying, and every season, it gets a little closer. I worked fire watch for the Forest Service from 2016 through early 2020. 4 seasons up at the Mount Ida Station, western edge of Rocky Mountain National Park. Elevation 12,720 feet. It's not a job for everyone. 3 weeks on, 1 week off. Completely alone, except for what comes through on the radio. I liked it that way. Preferred it, actually. The cabin's small, maybe 15 by 20 feet. Observation deck wraps around 3 sides, reinforced shutters on every window. Single ground-level entry with a deadbolt, meant for bears. Everything's built to withstand wind, and up there, the wind never stops. It howls through the stunted firs, screams across the exposed granite, shakes the whole structure like it's trying to pry it loose from the mountain. You get used to it, learn to read it. Different tones mean different weather patterns. High whistle means clear skies coming. Low moan means storms building over the never-summer range. This was October 2020. Early snow had already hit, maybe 8 inches on the ground, more predicted. I'd logged smoke activity from a controlled burn down near Grand Lake, checked the wind vectors, made my evening report. Standard procedures, everything by the book. Temperature was around 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Visibility maybe a third of a mile in the snow. I remember logging it all in the station ledger. Kenwood radio operational, spot beacon green, propane reserves at 70%. First weird thing was the elk. Found it behind the supply shed on day 3, or what was left of it. The bones were clean, surgically clean. No blood in the snow, no drag marks, no sign of how it got there. Just ribs and vertebrae scattered in a rough line, like something had pulled the meat off in strips. Bears don't feed like that. Mountain lions neither. They tear, leave scraps, make a mess. This looked methodical. I radioed it in. Dispatch said probably scavengers, ravens, coyotes, whatever. Told me to log it and move on. I tried to. 2 days later, I found more bones. Smaller this time, marmots, maybe some birds. Arranged in these weird little piles near the tree line. Not random, deliberate, like something was marking territory. One of my trail cameras was gone too. I'd mounted it on a pine trunk about 40 yards from the cabin, pointed downslope to catch wildlife movement. The camera was missing, but the mount was still there. Twisted, metal bent, like it had been wrenched off by hand. I set up a replacement, checked the footage from the other camera that night, mostly just wind-blown branches and snow. But there was one frame, single frame, maybe 3 seconds in, where something pale moved behind the trees. Too tall to be an elk, too fast to be a person hiking. I told myself it was a reflection, ice catching moonlight, something. The wind changed that night. I've been listening to wind for years. I know how it moves, how it sounds when it hits different surfaces. This was off. The normal howl was there, but underneath it, quieter, rhythmic, there was this other sound, like breathing. Long inhales, longer exhales. At first I thought it was just me hearing patterns in white noise. Your brain does that in isolation, finds rhythms where there aren't any. But this was consistent, regular, and it didn't match the gusts. I stepped out onto the observation deck with my binoculars, scanning the tree line. That's when I saw it. Standing at the edge of the timber line, maybe 100 yards out, pale, almost white and tall. Human-like, but wrong. Too thin, arms too long, hanging almost to the ground. It wasn't moving, just standing there, facing the cabin, facing me. The wind was hitting maybe 25 knots, snow blowing sideways, and this thing barely moved. Leaned into it slightly, but held position, like it was built for this, adapted to it. I watched it for maybe 30 seconds. Then the snow thickened, visibility dropped, and when it cleared, gone. I went inside, locked the door, logged it. Possible optical phenomenon, silhouette misidentified as wildlife. Storm conditions affecting visibility, but I didn't believe it. I tried raising dispatch on the radio. Static, nothing but static and this weird low-frequency hum that made my teeth ache. The wind got worse, full blizzard by evening. I secured the shutters, double-checked the door, started a fire in the stove. Routine, procedure, everything I'd done 100 times before. Around 2200 hours, the cabin started shaking, not from wind. This was different, rhythmic, impact tremors from below the deck, like something heavy moving underneath. I grabbed my flashlight and cracked the shutter on the north side. Something was down there, crouched low, pale skin stretched over long bones. Its back was to me, but I could see its shoulders working, arms pulling at the lower door frame, the emergency access hatch I never used. I fired a warning flare through the window gap. The light hit it full on for maybe 2 seconds. Jesus. It had a face, sort of. Eyes too big. No color, just black pits. Mouth open, jaws slack like it couldn't close properly. Skin pulled so tight I could see the outline of its skull underneath. It turned toward the light, toward me, and for just a moment, we locked eyes. Then it dropped to all fours, vanished into the storm. Fast, impossibly fast. 1 second it was there, the next it was gone, swallowed by the blizzard. I barricaded the door with the cot, pushed the supply crate against it, sat with my back to the wall and the flare gun loaded. The wind kept howling, but that other sound, the breathing, got louder, closer, and I realized something. It wasn't wind. It had never been wind. What I'd been hearing for the past 3 nights, that rhythmic inhale-exhale pattern, that was the thing outside, making sounds in the storm, blending with it, using it as cover. Then I heard it clearly, dragging sounds along the cabin wall, slow, deliberate, like something testing the structure, looking for weak points. And between the gusts, I could hear it, breathing, heavy, wet, right up against the wood. Boards started creaking, then splitting. The lower door, the one I'd barricaded, began to buckle inward, metal hinges shrieking, wood splintering. I could see pale fingers pushing through the gap, joints hyperextended but functional, gripping the frame with unnatural strength. I fired another flare, point blank into the doorway. It hit something, flesh I guess, and the scream that came back cut through everything. Hollow, whistling, like air forced through a damaged throat, high-pitched and broken, barely audible over the storm. But it was there, real, biological. I didn't think, just moved. Kicked open the emergency roof hatch and climbed out into the blizzard. Couldn't see 5 feet. Snow blinding, wind knocking me sideways. I ran anyway, down the slope, following the tree line by memory, lightning flashing just enough to keep me from walking off a cliff. I don't remember most of it, just fragments. The sound of something loping behind me, too close, too fast. The smell of wet stone and rotting meat. My breath freezing in my lungs. I collapsed maybe 2 miles down. Hypothermia setting in, couldn't feel my hands, thought I was done. They found me 30 hours later, rescue team out of Grand Lake, brought me down, treated me for frostbite and exposure, asked what happened. I told them something broke into the cabin, that I had to run. They sent a team up to the station a week later, found claw marks inside the door frame, deep gouges, splintered wood, found blood samples too, sent them to a lab in Fort Collins. Report came back. Unknown classification. Genetic markers suggest hominid ancestry with significant mutations, no match to any cataloged North American species. Official incident report called it a bear intrusion during a wind event. Said the structure was compromised by storm damage. They offered me another posting. I declined. I don't do fire watch anymore. Because here's the thing. I looked into the old reports after what happened, going back decades. Disappearances near Mount Ida, missing hikers, lone rangers, survey crews, all during storms, all above 12,000 feet. Most were never found. Some were found later, just bones, clean bones. There's this old Ute story my grandfather used to tell about things that lived in the high peaks before humans ever climbed them, pale hunters that only came down during storms. He called them the hollow runners because of the sound they made, that whistling scream through damaged throats. Said they'd been up there longer than anyone could remember, and they weren't leaving. I always thought it was just a story, folklore, something to scare kids. Now I think it might be taxonomy, a description passed down because people kept encountering the same thing, generation after generation, and nobody believed them. Last month, they assigned a new lookout to the Mount Ida station. Kid, maybe 25, eager. He radioed in after his first big storm, said he heard something strange, said underneath the wind there was this rhythm, like breathing. Dispatch told him it was normal, told him to log it and move on. I wanted to call him, wanted to tell him to leave. But what would I say? That what sounds like wind isn't always wind? That something up there has been using storms to hunt for longer than we've been keeping records? He'd think I was crazy. Hell, some days I think I'm crazy. But I still hear it. Every time the wind picks up, I listen for that rhythm underneath, that breathing. And I know somewhere up on that ridge, it's still there, waiting for the next storm. Because that's when we stop listening, and that's exactly when it moves.